sisters, and welcome again to BFR Ministry. And we are a Bible class that teach and reveal things in the Bible that's constantly and often overlooked by others. I'm Brother David, your teacher for today, and reading for me as usual is Sister Teresa. We'd also like to let you know what our motto here is at BFR Ministry. If they can't prove it, don't you believe it. We'd also like to say hello to Brother Joshua and Brother Big Baby out of Atlanta, ABT Ministry, and we are an extension of that ministry. Today's title in terms of our class is The Polygamous Lifestyle, or Monogamy According to Adam's Creation. Once again, the title of our class today is The Polygamous Lifestyle, or Monogamy According to Adam's Creation. And I want to set the tone for this class and just get it out there and get it out of the way. Brothers and sisters, polygamy is in the Bible. You can't get around it. It's there. It's written. But that's not in question here, okay? It is the practice of it. And who ordained it or established it is what I'm going to touch on this evening. And we're going to kind of pull the cover off or over this particular topic of polygamy. Again, you're free to do and live any way you choose. God gave all of us free will. However, remember, there's a judgment. So what we're going to do today is show you some things that no one touches on that's written in this Bible. And you can then decide which way you want to walk before your God. Because I guarantee you, and we're going to see this by this class, that one of these, be it polygamy or monogamy, one is clean and one is unclean. Not according to me, but according to the Word of God, meaning God Himself. Okay? One is holy and one is unholy. One was established by God Himself and one was not. It was established by a man or men. And we're going to take a look at this subject today and see if we can get you to pay attention to some things that probably have never been brought to your attention in the first place. And once we do this, you can then decide for yourself which way and how you want to walk before your God. Okay, because remember, there is a judgment. Okay, and we're going to go into the Bible and we're going to take a look at something that I hear very few people talk about. Who does the Bible reference as the first polygamist? I ask a lot of people this. They don't have a clue, but yet they say they're polygamous or they live the polygamous lifestyle according to the Word of God. Well, I said, well, according to the Bible, who's the first polygamist? What do you mean? What do you mean what I mean? There's nothing secret on this planet. The Word of God covers just about everything you can think of because the book tells you there's nothing new under the sun. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to start this in Genesis 4, and we're going to pick up the name of the very first polygamist, and I'm going to show you a little something about this. Nobody bothered to do. Okay? And we're going to read it first, and then I'm going to ask you and see if it makes any sense to you to question or to examine or dig a little bit deeper when you read what we're going to read here in Genesis 4. We're going to start this at Genesis 4, verse 17, and read down to the 19. And we're going to pick up the very first named polygamist in the Bible. And remember, this is Genesis chapter 4. Okay? When you find it, Sister Teresa, you can read.
And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch.
Okay. Now, is this Enoch here the Enoch that walked with God? No, it's not, brothers and sisters. But we're going to show you that. Go ahead.
And he builded a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. And unto Enoch was born Irad. And Irad begat Mehujael.
Okay.
And Mehujael begat Methuselah.
Okay. And keep in mind, this Methuselah looks very similar to Methuselah. But they are not the same, brothers and sisters. We're talking about the lineage of Cain here. Remember that. Go ahead.
And Methuselah begot Lamech.
Now here's a Lamech. If it's out of the lineage of Cain, this cannot be Noah's father then, is it?
No.
No, this is a different Lamech. These people are out of the lineage of Cain. Remember that. Go ahead.
And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other Zillah.
Zillah. Now, this is all it says about this guy Lamech, who's out of Cain's lineage. But you ever stop to ask yourself, who commanded this man to do this? Did we read that this was a commandment from the living God? No, we did not, brothers and sisters. You never stop to ask yourself that. This is, I told you, men, all men, women too. When I say men, sisters, I'm speaking about you too in this particular instance. When I say we all have free will, you're free to do whatever you want to do. You can go out there and rob a bank, but if they catch you, you're going to jail. You follow what I'm saying? It's the same with living any kind of way you want. If you say you want to have more than one woman, so forth and so on, you can do all these things. But keep in mind, there's a judgment. There's a penalty for doing things against God's word. But nobody ever asked, why did this man all of a sudden out of the blue just take 2 women for his wife? And who are these 2 women related to? Ada and Zillah. Okay? And we're going to show you that this guy is out of Cain's lineage. This is not the Lamech or the Enoch that came out of the lineage of Seth, brothers and sisters. Okay? And we're going to show you how this guy Lamech here was related to this guy named Canaan that came out of Seth's lineage. Okay, well, what we're going to do, let's answer this question. Why did this guy do this? It wasn't a commandment from God. Was it good? Was it a good thing or an evil thing? Let's go into a book that is referenced in the Bible by God. Nobody wants to deal with this, but this is why people don't know anything. You can find a reference to this book in the King James Bible and other Bibles that are 2 Samuel 1:18 and Joshua 10:3. It references you to a book called the Book of Jasher. And in this book, there are many things that are explained that are not explained in the King James Bible. For instance, very quickly, Paul told you in the New Testament the name of the 2 men that withstood Moses, Jannes and Jambres. You can't find their name anywhere in the Bible. He's the only one that mentions the name of these guys. If it's not written in the Bible, how did he know their names, brothers and sisters? He read them out of this book we're getting ready to read out of. Okay? Now, we're going to go to the book of Jasher. And we're going to find out why this man did this and see if it was a righteous thing or a wicked thing. Because it was not ordained by God that he should do this, was it?
I didn't see it.
We didn't read that. And you're not going to read it. So we're going to go to the book of Jasher 2, and we're going to start at the 17 and read to the 24. And let's take a look at this man Lamech out of Cain's lineage and see, let's get down to understanding why he did this. When you get there at verse 17, read.
And Lamech, the son of Methuselah, became related to Canaan by marriage.
This is the Canaan that's out of the lineage of Seth, brothers and sisters. This was a righteous man. Now, keep on reading.
And he took his 2 daughters for his wives. And Ada conceived and bare a son to Lamech.
So this guy, Lamech here, was related to Canaan by what? Marriage. Those 2 daughters that he took were the daughters of this righteous man out of the lineage of Seth, Canaan. Those were his daughters. Okay, but he took these 2 women to wives. And go ahead.
And she called his name Jabal. And she again conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Jubal. And Zillah, her sister, was barren in those days and had no offspring.
I wonder why. You think this is going to reveal this to us? Of course it is. It's going to let you know why she was barren. But the Lord commanded the first man and the first woman to go forth and be fruitful and what? Multiply. Why would he have one wife that bear him a son, then another son, and this one is barren? Was it something that he did to cause this? Or the Lord just had her womb closed. We getting ready to find out. Continue.
For in those days the Son of Men began to trespass against God.
Did you, what?
Trespass.
Trespass means to sin, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
And to transgress the commandments which he had commanded to Adam.
Wait a minute. It said commandments. So we talking about commandments here, but he's going to read and let us know one specific commandment. That means they broke more than one, but he's going to let you know one here that he's really, really ticked off about them breaking. Continue.
To be fruitful and multiply in the earth.
So he was mad at this Lamech and the other men who followed after him, taking more than one wife, and one they allowed to have children, and the other one they didn't. She was barren. I wonder why they did this, but we can also see that this is a trespass against the commandments of God, brothers and sisters, and we're talking about polygamy here. He's the very first polygamist, this guy named Lamech that came out of the lineage of Cain. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? It's a trespass. We're talking sin here, brothers and sisters, but let's continue to run this down and see how this other wife was barren. What happened to make her barren and not fruitful? Continue to read.
And some of the sons of men caused their wives to drink a draught which would render them barren, in order that they might retain their figures, and whereby their beautiful appearance might not fade.
You see what this just told us? They caused them to drink a drought. And we're going to look this word up, because I know what this is. But we're going to look this word up, and we're going to see what it is. But it rendered one of the sisters barren. This is why she couldn't bring forth no kids. And it was for the fact that he wanted one woman to bear children and the other one to keep her beautiful figure and to be looking good and youthful. And it's going to tell you something else. But again, this was a transgress, was it not? This was a sin against the commandments of God.
It says here is they were sinning against the commandment to Adam to be fruitful
and multiply. They caused these women to drink this drought, and this was a sin, brothers and sisters. But continue reading.
And when the sons of men caused some of their wives to drink, Zillah drank with them.
This was one of the sisters. Go ahead.
And the childbearing women appeared abominable in the sight of their husbands and as widows, whilst their husbands lived, for to the barren ones only they were attached.
This is a terrible thing here, brothers and sisters. It tells you they broke the commandment that God gave to Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply, plus this drought. What is this drought? What we're going to do, I'm familiar with this as a child, but we're not going to get into all of that. But they used to sell this stuff at Walgreens. I can't find it now, but I'm quite sure they still have it someplace, especially in the southern states. They got this. And it's a medicine, really. It's for a lot of things. But you see what it caused here. It rendered this particular sister here, one of them, barren. Stopped her from having children. But it also done something else, because that basically gives us the reason, okay, for this man doing what he did. It also exposes the fact that he caused one of the sisters to drink a drought that caused these men who did this to render their wives, some of their wives, barren. They sinned against God, brothers and sisters. We're talking about polygamy here, okay? And the bottom line is that let's take a look at this this word, this drought, and let's take a look at this and see what this is, because we're going to go to the Concise Oxford Dictionary, 1951 edition, page 363, and we're going to look at this word drought and see what this was that they were drinking, because in a sense it sounds like it was a medicine of some sort, but it rendered them barren, brothers and sisters. But when you get there, if you got it, read. We're going to read the definition of drought.
Drought, drawing, traction, for drawing of net for fish, etc.
Okay, skip to 3 and start there.
Single act of drinking, amount so drunk.
Okay, then he said these men caused these women to drink this drought, and it rendered them barren. Go ahead.
Do you want me to read these
yes.
underlying things? Also, figurative of joy, love, pain, etc.
Wait a minute. So they drank this drought, and it also caused pain. What kind of medicine would you drink, brothers and sisters, that would cause you pain? Medicine is supposed to be to cure us, to make us well when we're sick. But this particular drought can cause pain. And I'm going to show you what kind of pain it causes. Keep on reading.
Dose of liquid medicine, black, purgative.
Black, drought, or purgative, meaning to what?
Meaning? Well,
to purge the body.
Right,
that's what the word purgative means. It's a purifier. Okay, but purge the body of what? If it caused you pain, brothers and sisters, this also caused women, this particular drought caused women to miscarriage.
To miscarry?
This is where this pain comes from. And I can show you that in another class, but I'm telling you this is what, and it goes on if you continue to read. It says purgative. If you look at that word purgative, and you turn to page 976, and you look at it, means active. But the word purgative itself means apparent medicine, serving to purify, means to cleanse the body or get rid of something. And if you're talking about an embryo, brothers and sisters, it's causing her to have a miscarriage. This is where this pain come in. This is what this drought caused these women who took in pain and rendered them barren. Also, if they had a child, it would cleanse their bodies. They would have a miscarriage. They were also committing, ain't that murder? But in any case, this is what this drought and this black medicine is what it's called when you look at other dictionaries. But if you look at this word prerogative, it also comes from the word, or the word that's within this word prerogative is active.
Purgative?
Yeah, purgative. It means active as well, and the meaning of active is acting on one's own accord without God's consent. Like I said when we read in Genesis 4, the Lord didn't command this Lamech to do this, to take no 2 women as his wives. This was not a commandment from God, brothers and sisters. He did not ordain this. He was a man who had free will and chose to do this. And simply because the Lord will allow us to do something, okay, it doesn't mean you're not going to be punished for it, brothers and sisters. And I'm going to show you that through and throughout this class. You can do pretty much what you want to do. You can go out and shoot 4 or 5 people. You think you're not going to be punished for that? Don't they have laws against that? So does God when it comes to marriage. Which one did he ordain, monogamy or polygamy? Well, you see, he didn't have anything to do with polygamy. That was Lamech's idea. Now, let's move on here because we're not going to stay too long. We're going to go into Mark, the 10th chapter. And the reason I'm going here is that we've just established where polygamy came from. It wasn't from God. There was no commandment nowhere, and there's nowhere in the book where the Lord is commanding a man to do this. It's not a commandment. You can do it if you choose to. The Lord will allow it. But it don't mean you're not going to be punished at the end or at judgment. Nevertheless, we're going into Mark because if I do have a problem to go back and count the concubines of Solomon, count the concubines of Moses or anybody in this Bible, David, he didn't tell you to do that. And what he did instruct you to do, you refuse to do it. This is why you don't understand what God himself established and what is holy with regard to marriage and what is unholy. This is why you don't know this, but I'm going to show it to you today, and that's what this lesson is about. We're going to show you things that you're not paying attention to. He instructed the Pharisees and his disciples to do something, and if you claim to be a Pharisee or a disciple, he was talking to you too. And I'm going to show you what he instructed you to do. Let's go to Mark 10 and start at verse 2. And this is talking about divorce. But it's talking about something else, and we're going to show you what that's talking about. But when you get to Mark 10 and 2, I want you to start reading at the 2. We're going to read down to the 12.
And the Pharisees came to him and asked him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife, tempting him? And he answered,
is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife? Go ahead.
And he answered and said unto them, what did Moses command you?
It's a good question. Go ahead.
And they said, Moses suffered the right to write a bill of divorcement and to put her away.
Now, when they say Moses suffered, brothers and sisters, this means he allowed or permitted them to do this. Go ahead.
And Jesus answered and said unto them.
Now he's getting ready to explain why he permitted or allowed them to do this. Go ahead.
For the hardness of your heart, he wrote you this precept.
Wait a minute. That means, brothers and sisters, for their callous nature, having no sympathy or show no emotion for their legitimate or lawfully wedded wives, when they were just putting them away for anything. Just getting rid of them for no reason, not according to the reasons that are written in the Word of God. This is what he's saying here when he said the hardness of their heart. Go ahead.
But from the beginning of the creation, God made them male and female.
Now we're talking, this is what Jesus wanted you to take a look at. Go back to the beginning of his creation and see what he established. He's letting you know here, from the beginning of the creation of God, made them male and female. Did he say men or a lot of women here? Male and female, brothers and sisters, one. We're talking about two individuals here. But go ahead.
For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife.
Wait a minute. He's quoting somebody here also.
Yes, he is.
Who is he quoting here, brothers and sisters? You don't know, or you don't think about it because you won't go back to the beginning and find out who he's quoting and why he's quoting this particular person here. But continue to read.
And they twain shall be one flesh.
He said their twain shall be one. I mean, their two shall be one flesh. Go ahead.
So then they are no more twain, but one flesh.
But one flesh. He said, for this cause now, a man, this is what he established in the creation, God. Shall a man leave his mother and his father and cleave unto his wife, and their twain, meaning two, shall be one flesh. Okay? And one flesh, brothers and sisters, simply mean united together. One flesh. Who are we talking about here? Adam and Eve. Nobody else is in this equation, brothers and sisters. Nobody. Only Adam and Eve were in the beginning in the creation of God. They were the first human society. So we're not talking about polygamy here, are we? We're talking about a monogamous relationship. Who established this?
God.
God did. This is what he wants you to look at. Okay? When you find your place, continue to read, because we're going to pick up something else here.
What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder.
Meaning separate. But we're going to show you how this man and this woman were joined together. And we're going to show you who joined them together. You think it was God. We're going to show you who did it. Go ahead.
And in the house his disciples asked him again of the same matter.
Now the disciples heard this. They said, whoa. It was deep to them, so they asked the Lord the same thing. Now look what he tells them. Go ahead.
And he saith unto them, whosoever shall put away his wife and marry another committeth adultery against her.
Whosoever shall divorce his wife and marry another committeth adultery against her. I thought did it say them?
No.
Her, brothers and sisters, one woman. Go ahead.
And if a woman shall put away her husband and be married to another, she committeth adultery.
Did it say husbands?
No.
Husband. One husband, brother. We're talking about monogamy here. This is what the Lord wants you to look at. He didn't tell you to go look at no polygamy. He told you to look at this. He told the Pharisees this, and the disciples were like, wow. You know, you got to explain this, so then he hit him with something else. But we're going to break this down a little bit further and get a little bit deeper into this, because this is more than interesting. You need to pay attention to this. You really do. We're going to now go and read this and read Matthew's account of this. Let's go to Matthew 19, because a lot of people say this is talking about divorce. Brother, that's all. I agree with you. It is talking about divorce. But brothers and sisters, which one came first or comes first? Marriage or divorce? You tell me.
And he actually quoted what Adam said to his wife when he married her.
It's all that simple. But you follow my point? How can you have a divorce without a marriage? So it is talking about there was no divorce in the beginning. But in order to be divorced from somebody, you got to first what? Marry them. So this is talking about marriage too, brothers and sisters. Don't forget that. You can't have one without the other, especially divorce. You can't have a divorce without somebody being married first. It comes before divorce. So this is talking about both. This is what the Most High wants you to understand. But we're going to go, when you're there, we're going to start at the 3 and read down to the 9. We're going to read Matthew's take of the same thing that he taught to his disciples about in the Pharisees. But start at verse 3 and read.
The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him.
Always messing with him, trying to catch him up on his words so they can kill him. Go ahead.
And saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for any cause?
For any cause? Any means every cause, brothers and sisters. If she had a big eye, if her lip changed one day and swelled up, if her arm was, excuse me, if her arm was, one was long, whatever they thought of. If her hair wasn't long enough, if she was too light or too dark, what any cause means any cause, anything.
Everything.
Anything and everything, they could put their wives away. This is how they were using this bill of divorcement that Moses wrote, and we're gonna read it, and they shouldn't have been used that way. But anyway, we'll get to that. But it said they asked him, tempted him, can a man divorce his wife for every cause? Go ahead.
And he answered and said unto them, have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh?
Yeah, twain shall be one flesh. For this cause, he's quoting somebody here, brothers and sisters. And you don't know who he's quoting. You should by now, but go ahead.
Wherefore they are no more twain.
No more two. Go ahead.
But one flesh.
But one flesh. And I'm going to show you something about this one flesh. Go ahead.
What therefore God had joined together, let not man put asunder.
And I'm going to show you who joined this man to this woman. Go ahead.
They say unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away?
Go ahead.
And he said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your heart,
callous nature, go ahead,
suffered you to put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so.
Yeah, he allowed you, he permitted you to divorce your wives, but there was no divorce in the beginning, brothers and sisters. But again, I'll tell you again, I want to stress this. You can't have divorce without a marriage. But we're going to see how this was done in the beginning of God's creation. But keep on reading if you haven't finished.
And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication.
And this particular fornication here, in this particular spot, it simply means harlotry, incest, idolatry, including unlawful lust, adultery, and people need to understand that, because it's clarity here when you understand this particular fornication. It's still adultery, but go ahead.
And shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whosoever marrieth her which is put away, doeth commit adultery.
Now this shook up his disciples, and this is a more, to me, concise response, because when they heard this here, when Matthew lays it out for us, his disciples were like blown away. They understood this. And they're going to explain to you and let you see what they understood. And then I'm going to tell you again. But go ahead and finish reading that.
9?
Mm-hmm. Verse 9.
I read verse 9.
Well, continue.
His disciples say unto him, if the case of the man be so with his wife.
He said, wait a minute. If this is the case or the situation that a married man puts himself in, having a wife, look what they said.
It is not good to marry.
He said, man, hey, I don't want to get married. Why? Because it's not that easy to get out of, brothers and sisters. It's not something to be trifling with or be playing around with. This was established by God and his creation. And people are just playing with, excuse me, with marriage. They think that it's a game. But it's not a game with God. And if you say you're a God-fearing person, it should not be a game to you either. But the disciples understood how serious a monogamous marriage was to the God that established it. We're not talking about no polygamy. This is a monogamous marriage between a man and a woman. And this was in the beginning. And let's go on to Matthew 5 and take a look at something else. Matthew 5, we're going to read verse 18 and 20. And the disciples, verse 18 to the 20, and then we're going to skip down to 32 to the 37. And they knew that, and they said, hey, if this be the case of a man, hey, we shouldn't get married. A man shouldn't get married then. It's not that easy to get out of, brothers and sisters. This is not a game. This is not something to be trifling with. But go ahead on, and we're going to start at 20. When you get there, read.
For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law.
This is the law. We're talking the commandments and other laws, but brothers and sisters, people go here and read this and think this has nothing to do with the law of marriage. But it does. Not one jot or one tittle of the words that you speak to bring about marriage, it's not going to go away. This is why the disciples said what they said. If this be the case, a man shouldn't get married. We're going to show you what establishes a marriage, and we're going to show you what joins a man to a woman and a woman to a man, and what makes them one flesh. And we're going to show you who does this. But they say, hey, not one jot or one tittle should in any wise pass from the law. We're talking about marriage here, and this pertains to marriage as well. Go ahead and continue.
Until all be fulfilled.
Go ahead.
Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments.
And wait a minute. In the commandments it says thou shalt not commit what?
Adultery.
Adultery. Covet not thy neighbor's wife, or teach the opposite. You know, people, this is talking about marriage too. And it said be fruitful and multiply. Didn't the man break that commandment?
Yes, it was.
So this covers marriage too, the law of marriage as well. Not one jot of what you vow or promise is going to be wiped away until you fulfill your obligation to either one of the spouses is caught in fornication or adultery, or they die. This is good, bro. This is what you're reading here, but nobody pays attention. Just finish that.
And shall teach men so.
And if you teach men to go against monogamy as it was set up by God, go ahead and see what's going to happen to you. Let's see.
He shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
Go ahead.
For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees.
What's the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, brothers and sisters? The law. Go ahead. Ye shall in no wise.
Ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven.
You should pay attention to what this is telling you, brothers and sisters. Skip down to 32, and we're going to read to 37.
But I say unto you, that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication.
It's the same fornication we read about earlier, meaning adulterer, but it's also telling you something else here. It's talking about an adulterer or adulteress or a male paramour, which we're going to look at later on. We're going to find out what a paramour is, but go ahead.
Causes her to commit adultery.
This also means one who abandons previous loyalty. We're talking about marriage here. So one of the spouses have abandoned their loyalty or have broke their word to their spouse. This is what this is also talking about, but continue, go ahead.
And whosoever shall marry her that is divorced committeth adultery.
Go ahead.
Again, ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time.
The former prophets. Go ahead. What you gonna read? Go ahead.
Thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shall perform unto the Lord thine oath.
So when you promise somebody something, you swearing, brothers and sisters. And who you swearing it to?
To God.
To God. This is what nobody understands. These are not just loose words that come out of your hearts, brothers and sisters. That's why the Lord tell you don't swear.
Right.
Because he hear it. And you have to do what? Perform or do unto the Lord thine what? This is also an oath.
Oh.
And we're going to show you that it's much more than that as well, brothers and sisters. This is a serious thing we're dealing with here. You stand and talk to one another and agree to be husband and wife. Who you think listening? Who do you think you are swearing this to? Each other? Yeah, but you're swearing to the one that created you first. And nobody is telling you this. And people just dropping out of marriage just like water running out of a faucet and think God is not upset with this. Why do you think, and this is a twofold thing that he said he's angry with the wicked every day. This is talking about this as well and other things, but specifically this too. When people do these types of things. But where you had finished that?
34. But I say unto you, swear not at all.
Swear not at all. Don't make no promise or no vow to me and don't keep it. Don't do that. Go ahead.
Neither by heaven, for it is God's throne. Nor by the earth, for it is his footstool.
Go ahead.
Neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king.
Of the great king. Go ahead.
Neither shalt thou swear by thine head, because thou canst not make one hair white or black.
The Lord is warning us, is he not?
Okay.
This is a serious warning. But people have not taken heed to this. Finish that.
But let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. For whatsoever is more
than that. Go ahead.
Than these cometh of evil.
Evil, is that not sin? Doesn't evil bring about a sinful thing or deed or action? Isn't what Lamech did, wasn't that a sinful thing? It was a trespass. What do you think trespass is? Same thing we're reading here. So you have to understand what the Lord just warned you. Don't you forswear nothing. Thinking that you're talking to just a person and you ain't making this vow to him or you're not swearing this to him, because that's what you're doing, brothers and sisters. And nobody is showing you this. Nobody is telling you this. This is written right in the Bible that you hold up under your arm and have in your briefcase and walk around with it all day, and it's right in front of you and you're not paying no attention because nobody's showing it to you. And more importantly, you're not even trying to figure out or find it yourselves. So who do we blame? Blame you. You have to blame yourself. You got to work out your own salvation, the book say, in fear and trembling. You have to save yourself from this untoward generation, brothers and sisters. You have to study to show yourself approved of God. And stop letting people tell you things that they can't prove. Simply because they sound good. You believe it and run with it. But this is another thing here. When you start looking at polygamists, men in general, what they tell people is they can't commit adultery. Only their wives can, if they're unfaithful to them. But is that what the Bible says?
No.
Adultery pertains to a man and a woman, brothers and sisters. But they caught with some other woman other than their lawfully wedded wife, all they're going to do is try and say, well, this is my other wife. Well, why didn't you tell your lawful wife that you was taking another wife? And even if you did, you can't do it according to what God set up if you got married in a monogamous situation, and we're going to show you that. But also, you know what they're telling you, sister? That 10 of the commandments were for you, all 10 of them, but only 9 of them were for them, because they can't commit adultery. And then you start subtracting because they can't even covet. If that be the case. So you said all the commandments is not for them. But these are polygamous men that I'm talking about. And when they do this, they think they've outsmarted God. And they've gotten around God's laws when it pertains to monogamous marriage, because 99% of the men that get married, brothers and sisters, don't start out in no polygamous marriage. They start out as a monogamous. They get married to one woman gets married to one man, and the disciples told you, man, this is a hard thing to get out of, so maybe it's best that you don't get married. This is what people are not paying no attention to. You just can't up and pop up and somebody will see you can have another wife. No, by whose standards? By the person who's telling you this out of ignorance, brothers and sisters. You better fear for your life and pay attention to this book and try to find out if you've made this type of mistake, because it's not too late to correct it. But is it thus saith the Lord, or thus say some preacher or somebody that you're listening to that's telling you you can do this after you've entered into a monogamous marriage that was set up and established in the beginning by God? Okay? You better ask yourself that question. And also what people don't know, that in the United States alone, adultery is a crime, brothers and sisters, where you are supposed to be, you can be taken to court, and the person who has committed adultery can get prison time. But you know what? You're not going to find a judge in America that will enforce this law. But it's written in the laws of the United States. This is how they take this thing, but ain't nobody going to act on it. I just want you to understand that and just put that out there so you can know that. It is against the law. In a licensed state, if you married to one woman in a monogamous marriage, if you commit adultery, you can be sentenced to jail. But the judges are not going to enforce that law. But this is for some of you polygamists who think you can outsmart the Lord and get around his law because you got into a monogamous marriage and all of a sudden somebody tells you can have another wife and you get 2 or 3 more women, and no, you can't do that. But this is for you guys who think you can outsmart God. I want to read you something. Let's go to the Apocrypha, and we're going to go to Sirach in Ecclesiasticus 20 and read the 24 and the 25. And this is something you better pay very close attention to, because you can't break your promise to God, brothers and sisters. You can't sin against him and escape. It don't work that way. Go ahead.
A lie is a foul blot in a man.
A what?
Foul blot.
And it's a lie is this. Did it say on a man or what? In a man, brothers and sisters. In a man. Within you. Go ahead.
Yet it is continually in the mouth of the untaught.
Of the untaught. Go ahead.
A thief is better than a man that is accustomed to lie.
And these people who are untaught, you have not been taught about the God of this Bible, because Revelation tell you where all liars wind up, brothers and sisters. You standing before the Lord with a woman and you vow to be her husband and she vows to be your wife, and all of a sudden you do something contrary to that vow or that covenant of monogamy or marriage. You have lied. You have sworn to God in an oath, and you are a liar. And it says here, it's a blot in you. Okay? And you are untaught because you don't understand the recompense that's coming your way at the appointed time. And it tells you also that a thief is better than you. A thief. But go ahead and continue to read.
But they both shall have destruction to heritage.
What?
Destruction.
The thief and the liar going to get the same punishment. Destruction. Go ahead.
You just said 24 and 25.
And read the next line.
Okay. The disposition of a liar is dishonorable, and his shame is ever with him.
Ever with him, but we read earlier that was in him. And Job will tell you what the shame is. It's in your bones, brothers and sisters. If you die in sin and you wake up, that sin is going to tell on you. It ain't going nowhere. That's what happens when you swear to God and don't keep or perform your oath to him. We read that earlier. Let's move on and let's further pursue which one of these was established by God. We know he did not establish polygamy, brothers and sisters. That came by the hand of Lamech, out of Cain's seed. But now we're reading about monogamy, which the Lord established between a man and a woman. And we're going to pick up some things here. We're going to go to Genesis, and we're going to take a look at the Lord talking about creating man in his image. Meaning this man was going to be like God in every aspect. And he's talking about here. Let's pick this up and read the 26 and the 27 and read what God said about creating this man. Go ahead.
And God said, let us make man in our image.
Let us create a man in our image. Go ahead.
After our likeness.
Go ahead.
And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea.
Giving this man rulership. Go ahead.
And over the fowl of the air. And over the cattle. And over all the earth. And over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
This is what people don't pay no attention to. If God is a ruler and a king, he's showing you that the first man, he set him up as the same thing. He said in his likeness. So man was supposed to be ruling on this earth. He's showing you this right here. But go ahead and read.
So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them.
Male and female, he created he them. And I'm going to ask you a question, brothers and sisters. Right after we read this creation, let's take a look at the Lord forming this man out of the dust of the ground. Let's go to Genesis 2 and 7. And I'm going to ask you a question after this. Go ahead.
And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground.
Okay.
And breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul.
A living soul. Now, this is my question to you, brothers and sisters, according to the Word of God. Where was Eve when this took place? I want you to think about that. Mull that over for a couple of seconds. Very simple answer. Where was Eve when Adam was formed and he breathed his first? Where was she at? She was inside of him, brothers and sisters. And do you know what that made them, if that's the case? Because that made them one flesh. They were created one flesh. You didn't have to see her literally. That takes place in the process of time. But they were created one flesh.
So how important is that to God?
Very important. This is why I want to point this out to you. They were created one flesh. Eve is within the man. And I'm going to show you something else with regard to this, because the Lord didn't form Eve out of no dust of the ground. What are your bones made out of? What do they turn to if a man stayed dead long enough?
The dust. Back
to the dust. So when he took the rib out of Adam, he was forming Eve out of the dust of the ground too, brother. That's what your bones and our bodies are made out of. It returns to the dust, because dust we are, and dust we shall return. That's what the man was created from dust, dirt. But they were created one flesh because Eve was inside of Adam. Let's go ahead and move on and take a look at this a little further. Let's go to Genesis 2. Skip down. We're there. Skip down to verse 18. Then we're going to skip down to 21 and read to the 25. And pick up something else here, because we got to take a look at this.
And the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone.
Adam was alone by himself. He was the only human on the planet with all these animals who was paired up and everything. Go ahead.
I will make him a helpmeet for him.
He's going to make Adam a helpmeet. Give him a companion. Brothers and sisters, the Lord did this. Now skip down to verse 21. We're going to read 21 and 22.
And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. And he slept. And he took one of his ribs.
No, he took 3 of them.
One.
No, he took 4.
One.
He took 1, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
And closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man.
No, he said ribs.
No, one.
Oh, rib. 1 rib. Go ahead.
Made he a woman and brought her unto the man.
You can't be reading this right. He said, made he women, didn't he?
No.
He made a woman, brothers and sisters. We're looking at monogamy here. This is what your Lord and Savior established in his creation, brothers and sisters. Nobody wants to deal with this. But go, he said, and brought her forth unto the man, right? Okay, now, what has the Lord done here? He created Adam rather, and Eve was inside of him. They were one flesh. Now he separated this woman.
They're twain.
Now they're twain, meaning 2 separate individuals here. I want you to understand this. Now let's move on and see what else takes place here. Skip down to, keep reading, 23 to 25.
And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh.
So the Lord was quoting Adam.
Yes, he was.
When he was talking to the Pharisees and his disciples. Adam said this. That's who made that statement that came out of the Lord's mouth in Matthew. And nobody's paying no attention. But why did he say this? And what does this mean? This is a proclamation, brothers and sisters. This is a vow. This is a promise to God pertaining to who? The woman that the Lord brought forth unto him. And she's going to become something to him after we finish reading this. Start that again. Right at the beginning, we're going to read this.
And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh.
This is the key. Go ahead.
She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man.
Go ahead. No, they were taken out of man. She was, brothers and sisters. 1-1. Go ahead.
Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh.
What was the marriage ceremony, brothers and sisters? How did she just all of a sudden become his wife? Because of his vow, brothers and sisters, his proclamation, his word, his promise to God pertaining to this woman, his oath, better yet, his covenant. His covenant. This is all holy radio, brothers and sisters. Nobody's paying attention to this. This was established. She was established to be his wife by the words that he spoke. This is all that simple. This is what we're reading here. Finish reading that.
And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed.
They were both naked and not ashamed, but this, he tells us, he say, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and shall cleave unto his wife, not wives, and they shall be one flesh. One flesh. Didn't they start out in the creation as one flesh?
Yes,
Eve being inside of Adam. Then the Lord separate her, and look what joined them together as one flesh. Adam's proclamation, his words, his oath, his covenant, his promise. He swore this unto God pertaining to this woman, and she became his wife. This is how you are joined together, brothers and sisters, with words, with a vow, with promises. This is how you are betrothed to one another. This is monogamy here, is it not?
It is.
It's not polygamy, brothers and sisters. This is what your Lord wants you to pay attention to, and this is what he wants you to deal with. But everybody wants to do the opposite. You want to run places. He instructed you to go back and take a look at this. No, you don't want to do that. You want to go back and count the concubines of Solomon. You want to count the concubines of David. You want to count the concubines of Mo, and so on, and all these other men. He never told you to do that. That's why you don't know nothing. That's why you can't see this. You can't figure it out. Why? Another important reason is the lust of your flesh. That's why. And you're treating your spouse, be it a man or woman, because I'm going to show you in this class that if a man, and sisters, I want you to hear this, and brothers, you hear this. You're not going to like it, but it's the truth. If you say you can have more than one wife, I'm going to show you that a woman can have more than one husband, according to the very word polygamy itself and the definition thereof. It's as simple as that. Is that holy? Is that from God? A woman walking around here with 3 or 4 husbands? Give me a break. If she can't do it, what makes you think you can do it? And I told you, it's in the Bible. But you don't understand that you're free to live any way you want. Just simply because the Lord allows or allowed men to do things don't mean that punishment ain't coming thereafter, brothers and sisters. You better pay attention to that. But more importantly, if you get married as a monogamist, it's a hard thing to get out of. We only read one reason other than death that can get you out of that thing. So you just can't up and pop up out of the blue and say you want another wife, and you made a vow and entered into a covenant with God, with the Lord, pertaining to your spouse like Adam did. You can't do it. This is what we're reading here, and we're going to further show you this. And it says, verse 25, and they were both naked. And the man and his wife, we just read what established them as being like Adam's proclamation, what he swore to God pertaining to this woman. They were established as husband and wife, and they were one flesh. But it said that they were naked and not ashamed. The shame comes in, brothers and sisters, when a lawfully wedded man to one woman in a monogamous marriage is in the bed with some wife other than his lawfully wedded wife, or wives in the bed with 3-4 women. Ain't that shame? That's shameful. Same with a woman, if she's in the bed with 2-3 men, she calling her husband. That's where the shame come in. But ain't nothing shameful about a monogamous marriage where a man and a woman are nude and they're naked together, they're husband and wife, according to what we've just been reading. Ain't nothing shameful about that. The shame comes in when you get outside of that circle or those parameters that's set up by the word of God. Let's move on. Let's go now to Romans, because we know that they were disobedient. And something entered into the world because of their disobedience. I want to go here to Romans 5 and read a little bit about it. We're going to read 2 verses, Romans 5, 11 and 20, because I'm going somewhere with this. Because when you read this, people just think this was just all on Adam. That's all. This is the only place you can find this when you look in the Bible. Romans 5, Adam, because Adam sinned entered into the world. Wait a minute. Adam was one flesh with somebody, wasn't he? She was not guilty. She was not responsible for sin coming in the world. We're going to show you that she was, and we're going to read you that she was. We ain't going to read it out of this book. We're going to read it out of another part of the Bible. But anyway, let's read this right here and pick up something right here. They were one flesh. They were punished for the same offense. So he was responsible for sin in the world. So was she. But you can't read that in the Bible. Go ahead. We're going to start at the 11 and read to the 12.
And not only so, but we also joy in God through our Lord Jesus Christ.
For a lot of reasons. For monogamy, for instance, we should rejoice and joy in God for establishing that in Genesis. He's also going to tell you something else why we should rejoice over him, because he did some other things too. But this is part of the other things that he did for us, his creation. Go ahead.
By whom we now receive the atonement.
He made it until he died for our past sins. Go ahead.
Wherefore, as by one man sin entered into the world.
Who is this one man?
Adam.
Adam, go ahead.
And death by sin.
Death by sin, go ahead.
And so death passed unto all men, for that all have sinned.
Okay. Through and by the same disobedience that Adam, but also Eve committed. She was guilty too, and we're going to show you that. Let's go to the Apocrypha and go to Seed Rock, Ecclesiastes 25, 24, and 26, and we're going to pick up something else here with respect to understanding that Eve was punished for the same offense. She was the reason sin entered into the world too, brothers and sisters. They were one flesh, husband and wife, both guilty of the same offense. And we're going to read that. When you get there to the 24, read.
Of the woman came the beginning of sin.
What woman are we talking about?
Eve.
Eve. Go ahead.
And through her we all died.
Did we read the same thing about Adam?
Yes, we did.
In Romans, go ahead.
Give the water no passage.
It's talking about literal water here, brother, but it's talking about something else, brothers and sisters. If you allow water just to run rapid for a period of time, and depending on the strength of it and the volume of it, it destroys things. So it's telling you here, give the water no passage, but it's also talking about or making a reference to somebody else here. Let's finish reading that.
Neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad.
Meaning freedom to just gad abroad. When you say gad abroad, she's going about with no purpose in life. Okay? And she entered into oath, making promises and vows that she ain't keeping without her husband's permission. You don't allow her to do this. Go ahead.
If she go not as thou wouldest her go,
I'll go ahead.
And give her a bill of divorce and let her go.
This is what we've been reading about, where the Lord was talking about telling the Pharisees why Moses permitted and allowed them to do this. But here, this is talking about not a righteous woman, brothers and sisters. Okay? Not a virtuous woman. This is a wicked woman we talking about here. that gads abroad, making oaths and vows she can't keep. And you flip the script, we're talking about wicked men too, but this is specifically talking about a wicked one. It makes reference to that. You don't give her the liberty or the freedom to do this. And if she go not the way that she's supposed to go according to her husband, then you give her a bill of divorce. This is what this says here. But let's move on. But we also say, it also says here, this did not say wicked wives, did it?
No.
It say wicked woman. We're still talking about monogamy here, brothers and sisters. We're still talking about monogamy here. This is what the Lord established. Okay? Now what we're going to do now is move on, and I'm going to ask you a question. How does the Lord feel about putting away? Divorce. I know people that used to go here and just read this, but I think we've shed a little bit more light on this topic, and we're going to even make it clearer as we move on in this class. But we're going to read how the Lord feels about this and pick up some real serious things that he's not really happy about with respect to how spouses treat one another here. And after all, you have made a vow to him to be with that spouse, to be one flesh. You join yourself as one flesh to your spouse by your words, your oath, your promise. You're swearing to God to maintain this covenant together. And it's a covenant also with him. This is what you don't understand. But we're going to read Malachi 2, and keep in mind, we are all the way in the book of Malachi. We're going to see if we're talking about polygamy here or we're talking about monogamy. We're going to start at the 16, and then we're going to skip back to the 14. Let's start at the 16 and pick up how our God feels about divorce.
For the Lord, the God of Israel.
The God of who?
Israel.
The God of Israel, brothers and sisters. Those who claim to be the people Israel. This is your God talking to you. But he's also talking to the whole world. But go ahead.
Saith that he hateth putting away.
No, he hated divorce. He loves divorce.
No.
He hates divorce. Go ahead.
For one covereth violence with his garment.
Well, this means like you're concealing a plot against your spouse. And it could be a violent plot, crafty, shifty, shady, whatever the case, but you're concealing your true intentions toward your spouse. Does God like this? Go ahead.
Saith the Lord of hosts, therefore take heed to your spirit.
You don't like you doing this, you better take heed. This is what he's telling you. Go ahead.
That ye deal not treacherously.
That you deal not treacherously with your spouse, brothers and sisters. And we're going to go back now to verse 14 and further pick up how he feels about this.
Yet ye say, wherefore? Because the Lord hath been witness between thee and the wife of thy youth.
This is why you better take heed to this, brother and sister. He said he's a witness between you and the wife of your youth. Did he say wives here?
No. Wife.
So we're talking about monogamy, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said wife of your youth. You can't enter into no covenant with no 4 or 5 women, brothers and sisters, and have the Lord sanction this. This is not what he brought forth in his creation. We're still talking about monogamy. And what we read, we are reading out of the book of Malachi, the last book in the Old Testament. And he's still talking about monogamy. And he's warning you not to be treacherous toward the wife of your youth. Flip the script, sisters. He's talking about husband of your youth too. Don't get it twisted. The Lord is an even-handed God. He is not a respecter of persons when it comes to judgment. Okay? But he says, finish reading that.
Against whom thou hast dealt treacherously.
Treacherously against her. We're going to look that word up. Go ahead.
Yet is she thy companion and the wife of thy covenant.
No, it said, yet they are thy companions and the wives. No, it said, she, brothers and sisters, one. And it didn't say they. It says, wife of thy what?
Covenant.
Covenant. This is a monogamous marriage. It's a covenant between God and you two. And brothers and sisters, you have a serious problem with the God of Israel. If you violate that covenant, without using the two things or the means to be able to get out of it. If you use any other means, if you put your wife or your husband away for any other reason, that's why the Pharisees try to trick the Lord. But he just simply told them, there wasn't no divorce in the beginning. But it's telling you here, hey, you can't be treacherous toward the spouse of your youth, be it wife or husband, brothers and sisters. And we're going to pursue this a little further, and we're still talking monogamy here. We're going to go into the Strong's Bible Concordance and look up this word treacherously, because you need to understand what this word is telling you here. We're going to go to 898 in the Hebrew section, and when you get there, what's the word?
Bagad.
Mm-hmm. A primary root.
A primary root to cover.
That's what we was reading in Malachi. He said covertly. Mm-hmm. You know, you coverting violence. You know what I'm saying? Like you're plotting to do something to your spouse here. But he said cover with a garment, like you're hiding your true self. Is what he's telling you here, brothers and sisters. But you can't hide from him. Go ahead.
With a garment, figuratively, to act covertly.
By implication.
By implication, to pillage.
Okay, by implication, to pillage. And when you take a look at this word pillage, you know, in war, the stronger army will overcome the weaker army and take over their lands and whatnot. They pillage these people, don't they? Mm-hmm. And they go in and they wipe out everything that they don't want, meaning they kill. So this is what the Lord is telling you, you doing when you are acting treacherously toward the wife of your youth. This is what you're pillaging her. That's violence. You're doing this. Go ahead.
Deal deceitfully.
You're being deceitful. Go ahead.
Treacherously.
Go ahead.
Unfaithfully.
Unfaithfully. Go ahead.
Offend, transgress, or depart. Treacherous, dealerly man. Unfaithful. Unfaithfully.
Mm-hmm. This is what you're doing when it says you cannot be treacherous or do treacherous things to the wife of your youth or the husband of your youth, sisters. This is what the Lord is looking at here. It's like you're committing a violent thing toward your spouse when you have vowed not to be this way. We're talking monogamy here. Pretty much polygamists say you can do whatever you want to do. You can't even commit adultery if you're a polygamist. That ain't what the Word of God says, though. It would not even be in the Bible if that was not so. But let's move on. We're not going to establish, according to the Word of God, what brings about a marriage. What actually joins you together as husband and wife. How you enter into a covenant with God along with one another. We're going to show you what brings this about. Let's go to Numbers 30. We're going to read 1 and 2. And this is what Israel knew. This Moses told all the elders this. And the elders brought it to Israel. They understood this, brothers and sisters. They didn't practice it, though. That's the problem. Just like a lot of us here today understand this, but you let people sway your mind and your hearts away from God. And you start doing what they want you to do as opposed to what the Word of God wants you to do. Because you got to save yourself, brothers and sisters. And if you are walking in untruths, you ain't nowhere near salvation. Not the salvation of God. Nowhere near it. And that is a fact because the Word of God confirms that. But anyway, when you get to Numbers 30, 1 and 2, we're going to see what establishes a marriage and what joins a man and woman together and what causes them to enter into a covenant with God and themselves. Let's read. When you get there, read.
And Moses spake unto the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel.
Who the heads? The elders, brothers and sisters. They were always involved in what thus said the Lord with respect to telling the children of Israel what the Lord wanted them to do. Go ahead.
Saying, this is the thing which the Lord hath commanded.
This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. Okay? We're going to see if we can pick up polygamy in here anywhere. Go ahead.
If a man vow a vow unto the Lord and swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond.
Who you vowing this vow to?
the Lord.
You swearing an oath and you're binding your soul with a bond to the Lord, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
He shall not break his word.
He should not break his word. If we talk about monogamy, you can't break your word to your spouse. But before you break it to them, you break it to the Lord. People don't understand this. Go ahead.
He shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth.
You shall do according to all that proceed out of your mouth. You should live accordingly. Not be treacherous toward the Lord, first of all, because if you're treacherous toward a wife who you proclaim to be to the Lord, or husband, if you will, sisters, and you turn around and not treacherous, you're not doing everything that proceeds out of your mouth, or the swear that you, or the oath that you swore to the Lord. You're not keeping it. He said, but he shall do according to all that proceeded out of his mouth. Just like who? Just like Adam, your father. Your earthly father, just like Adam. Did he divorce Eve?
No.
Irregardless of what happened to her, did he divorce her? Jesus told the Pharisees and the disciples there wasn't no divorce in the beginning. And you think you can just do it at the drop of a whim. This is like rolling dice. Just tossing pennies in water. Maybe you didn't think you could just divorce at will and get as many. No, it don't work that way, brothers and sisters. And nobody is trying to get you to wake up and understand this. Everybody wants to go, like I said, if I got a problem, it's the fact that everybody wants to do exactly the opposite of what Jesus wants you to do. You want to go count the wives or concubines, and I'm going to show you why they call them wives. But I'm going to show you that they were concubines. You want to count the concubines of everybody. But what the Lord told you to do, go back and take a look at his creation and what he established. And you will clearly see that being a polygamist is not something he's pleased with, brothers and sisters. And he did not establish it. He did not establish it. Lamech did. This was brought forth by a wicked man. Go ahead, and we're going to now, if you finish that, we're going to now read this again. It's going to be a little clearer. Let's go to Deuteronomy 23, and we're going to read 21 and 23. And it's going to say the same thing, but it's going to get a little bit more intense and direct. It's going to reveal some things here as well. Go ahead.
When thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord thy God.
Who you vowing this vow to? To the Lord, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
Thou shalt not slack to pay it.
You should not slack to pay it. Go ahead. Perform what you're vowing to him. Go ahead.
For the Lord thy God will surely require it of thee.
What you mean require? He said he's a swift witness against those that have acted treacherously toward him. Because if you enter into an oath pertaining to your wife and you mistreat her, you acting treacherously toward the Lord, brothers and sisters. Ain't nobody telling you this. So he's going to require this sin or this thing or this trespass of you at the appointed time. But go ahead.
And it will be sin in thee.
This is what he's telling you. Don't sin by breaking your vow to me. If you made this swear or this vow, this oath, or if you've entered into this covenant with this wife, don't let it be sin by breaking it for the wrong reasons. Go ahead.
But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee.
Yeah, if you don't make no vow, no oath, or enter into no covenant with her, it's no big deal. You ain't in no trouble with God. So he said if you forbear, you don't do it, it's no problem. Ain't no sin in you. We go back to that sin being within you or in you. You can't escape, brothers and sisters. You die with that sin and you're going to wake up, it's going to be right there to testify against you. Anyway, continue to read.
That which is gone out of thy lips, thou shalt keep and perform.
Words go out of our lips, right? Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Even a free will offering, according to thou hast vowed unto the Lord thy God.
So words can be a free will offering too, brothers and sisters. Nobody is showing you this. When you vow unto the Lord pertaining to your wife, or vice versa, a wife to her husband, you vow in this vow, making this promise, this oath, entering into this covenant with God. pertaining to this spouse of yours. And it is a free will offering. He didn't force you to do this. You did it freely. This is what I keep telling you. You can do pretty much what you want, but don't play with God. God will not be mocked. If you think you can do that and get away with it, you got another thing coming. But continue to read that.
According as thou hast vowed unto the Lord thy God, which thou hast promised with thy mouth.
This is how you are joined together with a spouse. Didn't Adam proclaim to the Lord when he brought Eve forth unto him, he made a proclamation, hey, for this cause a man shall leave his mother, his father, and cleave unto his wife? This is what we're talking about here. This was done by a promise. They were joined together and they were what? Again, one flesh. They were no longer twain, brothers and sisters. So when you get married to a spouse, you are one flesh again, just like your father Adam and your mother Eve. And you don't even understand this because nobody's bothering to take a real close look at this thing to show you how important a monogamous marriage is to God. That's what he established. Ain't nothing to do with no polygamy. But you're not paying attention to this because you're so wrapped up in this flesh. But this is how you are joined together. They joined themselves together. The Lord just co-signed it. By promise. By the words that come out of your mouths. And you're saying these things unto the Lord. And again, you did this freely. Nobody put a gun up to your head and force you to do nothing. You vowed freely to do this. And you know what? The only married couple in this whole Bible that tried to take a free will offering back was in Acts, the 5th chapter. And that was Ananias and his wife, Sapphira. What happened to them? Go there and read it. You'll see what happened to them. I'm not even going to tell you. You should know if you're reading the Bible, but you go read that. So when you freely vow and enter into a covenant with the Lord pertaining to your wife or your husband's sister, you're making this vow to God. It's a free will offering. Nobody forced you to do this. Think about what happened in Acts 5. When you think you can just pop up and walk away for no reason at all, especially those given you in the scriptures to be able to legally get out of a marriage according to what God has established in the book. And we talk about a monogamy. Didn't the disciples say this was a very difficult thing to get out of? Hey, the man, if this would be the state of the man, hey, he shouldn't even get married. This is a deep thing here. This is what they said. But anyway, we're going to go to the Strongs now, and we're going to start defining a few of these words that we read in Numbers and Deuteronomy, because it says if a man swear an oath, and he's swearing this oath to God, just like the woman is. But let's go and look at this swear. We're going to go to the Hebrew section, the Strong's Bible Concordance in the Hebrew section, 7650, and look up the word translated swear. What's the word?
Shabbat.
And it means?
A primary root. To be complete.
Properly to be complete.
But used only as a denomination.
You see what this definition is telling you here? When you, look, brothers and sisters, when you swear, like Adam did, or proclaim like Adam did, as it pertained to Eve unto God, and she became his wife. And it's telling you to be complete. Wasn't he complete when he was created? Eve was within him, right?
Right.
But then she was manifested and brought forth and revealed to him in person, and they were twain. But then when he made this proclamation, they became one flesh, in a sense, completed, brothers and sisters. This is just what this devil, when you swear that with respect to marriage, this is what this does. Completes you, man and a woman. We're still talking about monogamy here. Had nothing to do with no polygamy, brothers and sisters. Finish reading that definition.
From 1651 to 7651.
Okay.
To 717.
Let's say you 717. Go ahead.
Swear as if by repeating a declaration 7 times.
What? So if you vow or make a proclamation pertaining to your spouse, be it male or female, it's like you swearing this oath or this swear to God 7 times, brothers and sisters, 7 times. You don't understand this because you're not looking up anything. You're just taking somebody's word for stuff that don't do nothing, but I'm just showing you this. Go ahead and finish that.
Adjure, charge by an oath, with an oath. Feed to the full by mistake for 76:46.
So you are swearing, when you swear an oath to God, you are multiplying that one swear 7 times. Now we're going to go to the Apocrypha, and we're going to take a closer look at this 7 times, and you swear unto the Lord, how it magnifies, that one swear is magnified 7 times. Let's go to the Apocrypha, Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus 7. We're going to read 1 to 3, and we're going to show that to you. When you get there, you can start reading at the 1.
Do no evil, so shall no harm come unto thee. Depart from the unjust, and iniquity shall turn away from thee.
Isn't being treacherous toward your spouse an evil thing? Yes, it is. Go ahead.
My son, sow not unto the furrows of unrighteousness, and thou shalt not reap them 7-fold.
How many times?
7-fold.
7-fold. This is what I'm telling you. When you do something, brothers and sisters, you swear. Don't make a swear. This is an evil thing if you don't keep what comes out of your mouth. And it magnifies itself as if you did it 7 times. You've lied to the Lord 7 times. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to further look up some of those words that we read about in Numbers. And in Deuteronomy, it said, if a man swear an oath. And we're going to look up the word oath in the Strong's Bible Concordance. Because Adam, we know our father swore an oath to the Lord pertaining to his wife Eve. Let's look at this word oath. When you get there, we're going to go to the Strong's Concordance, 7621 in the Hebrew section, the word translated oath. What is the word?
Shabuah. Feminine, past participle of 7650. What is that? Something sworn.
Something sworn. That's what the oath is. Go ahead.
An oath. Course.
A curse.
Curse. Oath. Sworn.
This is a curse to you. If you make an oath and break that oath, brothers and sisters, to the Lord as it pertains to your spouse, your words then become a curse to you. And we read it can be magnified as how many times?
7-fold.
7 times, 7-fold. This is how much trouble you are in with the Lord. Now we're going to keep on. And remember, it can be a curse to you. Let's go on and stay in the Strongs, and we're going to look and say if a man swear by an oath to bind his soul. We're going to look up that word bind. Into the Hebrew, we're going to go into stay in the Strongs. We're going to go to 631 in the Hebrew section, and we're going to find the word bind. When you get there, what's the word?
Asar.
And it means?
A primary root to yoke or hitch.
It means to attach yourself to something. Okay, go ahead.
By analogy, to fasten in any sense.
Right, go ahead.
Join battle.
Go ahead.
Bind, fast, gird, harness, hold, keep, make ready, order, prepare, prisoner, put in bonds, set in array, tie.
This is what Adam is trying to tell you, brothers and sisters, and the Lord is trying to tell you. When you do this, when you bind yourself to your wife, you are hitching yourself to her. You are fastening yourself to her. Same thing with you, sisters. You are fastening yourself to one another, but more importantly, even to the Lord. And it's like you are attached to harness to one another. And it say you are a prisoner to one another. It's like, you ever heard of that phrase, old ball and chain? This is what we're talking about here, brothers and sisters. This is not no game. Monogamy is not nothing to play with. It's like it say put in bonds. It's like you're a prisoner. You are tied to one another. It's a yoke even. Okay, let's move on and look up another word. It say to tie yourself and to bind his soul to a bond. Let's look up this word, bond. in 632 in the Hebrew section. Strong, we stand in the Strong. Let's go to 632 and see what the word bond is translated to mean. What's the word?
The word is Isar. From 631.
From 631, which you just read. Go ahead.
An obligation. Or vow.
An obligation or vow, brothers and sisters. Go ahead. To who though? To the Lord. God. Go ahead.
Of abstinence.
Of what?
Of abstinence.
Of abstinence. How? We're talking monogamy here, right? How then if you are married to a man, sister, or brother, you married to a woman, you say a vow of abstinence. You know what abstinence means? You can't have nobody else. That's what abstinence means. To abstain from others that are not a part of your covenant with one another and with the Lord, moreover. Nobody is showing you this. You don't look up nothing. You just think that you can just be a polygamist at the drop of a hat because somebody told you. You better pay attention to who you listening to and read this book for yourself. And get back in tune with the God that you were seeking before you were misled. But go ahead on and say a vow of abstinence. And it further says, I'll just read, binding bond. Okay? And notice a promise brought that about. We're going to stay in the Strongs and we're going to look in the Greek section and further look up a word here. It say, when we were reading in the New Testament and we read in Genesis, say, and Adam said to the Lord that a man, for this cause a man shall cleave unto his wife, right? Let's see what this word cleave meant. We're going to look it up in the Greek first, because we read it in the New Testament. First, 43-47 in the Greek section, the word cleave, translated cleave. What's the word?
The word is proskola. Proskolao.
What does it mean?
From 43:14 and 28:53. To glue to.
To glue to. Cleave means, it's like when we just read the other definition, say to bind, like you tie, you know, that ball and chain. And I said to glue, it's like glue. You're stuck to one another like glue. Go ahead.
Figuratively, to adhere, cleave, join self.
Join self to one another. You're one flesh. You can't be no one flesh in no monogamous marriage with no 4 or 5 men, sister, or brother with no 5 or 6 women. It don't work that way. This is not what God established. We're still talking about monogamy here. But God, the God of Israel, established back in Genesis in the beginning. Now, we looked up cleave in the Greek section. It was mentioned also in the Old Testament. So we're going to go in the Hebrew section in the Strong's Concordance, and we're going to see what it means in the Hebrew. When you get there, what's the word? We're going to go to 1692 in the Hebrew section, the word translated cleave. What's the word?
The word is debak. A primary root to impinge, cling or adhere.
Cling or adhere to. Go ahead.
Figuratively, to catch by pursuit.
Go ahead.
Abide fast. Cleave fast together. Follow close, hard after. Be joined together.
To be what?
Joined
to
together.
Be joined together. We're still talking about monogamy here, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
Keep fast, overtake, pursue hard, stick, take.
This is what it means when Adam said, for this cause a man shall leave his mother, his father, his sister, and all the rest of your relatives and friends, and cleave, be joined together with his wife. As what though? One flesh. And now we're going to look at this word twain. We're going to look it up in the East, because they are no longer twain when they rejoined together, but when he separated Eve from Adam, took her out of him, they were twain. Let's look at this word twain. It's a numeral. And we're going to go to 14:17 in the Greek section and see what this word twain is translated to be. What's the word?
The word is duo.
Okay.
A primary numeral, 2. Both twain, 2. 2.
It's a numeral. That's why I said duo. That's where we get the word duo from. Numeral, the number 2. Did it say 4 or 5,
no.
7 or 8?
No.
Brothers and sisters, we're still talking about monogamy here. Let's move on. This is how you are joined together in the eyes of God in a monogamous marriage. That's what he established in the beginning. And You tell me, think about it. Which one is holy? Polygamy or monogamy? You think about that. But let's stay in the Strong's. We're going to go to 259 in the Hebrew section, and it said they were one flesh. It mentioned that several times. But we're going to see what this word is translated to mean. We're going to go to 259 in the Hebrew, the word translated one flesh. What's the word?
Echad.
Okay.
A numeral from 258.
It's a numeral too, a number as well. Like twain is two, one flesh is a numeral also. It's a number. What number is it? Go ahead.
United. One.
One, the number one. Go ahead.
Or as an order first.
Okay.
Alike, alone, altogether, and anything apiece, a certain. Daily, each one. 11, every few first highway.
Go ahead.
A man once one only, other some together.
Together. Okay, it means united, one. A man and a woman, brothers and sisters. Not men and some women, not women and some men. We're still talking monogamy here. But the God of Israel established, we're talking a man and a woman united. They are one flesh, just like we read in the beginning when we started reading about our Father in the beginning and our Mother Eve in the beginning. This is what God established. Let's move on and further define some of these other words. It says, let no man cut asunder what God has joined together. Let's look up this word asunder. We're going to stay in the Strong's. We're going to go to the Greek section, 5563, and define the word translated asunder. What's the word?
Let me get to it. Okay, the word is chorizo.
Okay.
From 5561.
Go ahead.
Place room between.
It means you don't step in between or put nothing between a man and his wife. A wife and her husband. We're still talking monogamy, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
Okay. Part, to go away, depart, put asunder, separate.
You don't separate a man from his wife or a wife from her husband, brothers and sisters, lying to them, telling them that they can begin as monogamous or be in a monogamous marriage which God established. They still living. Nobody's died. Nobody's been caught in adultery, incest, and all these other things, or literal adultery, if you will. They can just pop up and she can have more than one husband, he can have more than one wife. This cannot happen, brothers and sisters, according to what we've been reading here. You better pay attention to who's teaching you. You best do that if you want to save your own soul. Because so far, I know this has really caused a lot of light to shine on a lot of people. This is a very dark subject. Nobody is dealing with this side that I'm showing you. They deal with the other side. I don't want to deal with that side because that's easy. Because that appears to be giving people the green light to do it. I want you to take a look at this and you ask yourself the question after we get through with this class. Can you do it? If you're monogamous, can you do that? Can you be a polygamist if you're monogamous? And your wife hasn't done anything, your spouse hasn't done anything against God or broken their covenant in any way, can you just pop up and be a polygamist? Be it a man or a woman. You think about that. We're going to move on and we're going to take a look at something else here that's in the book. And a lot of people, especially in these Hebrew camps, these black Hebrew Israelite camps, you know, they preach this thing, this polygamy thing. They preach it and preach it. And some of them are out and open with it, but I'm talking about the ones that are real sneaky with it. They hide it. They even teach it behind closed doors. They don't readily come out and tell you this is what they're about, because over half of the people wouldn't even join if they knew this was going on. A man is married to a woman thinking he's going to a place that's going to teach him about God and the ways of God and how he can live godly and holy in the Lord, and he get in there and, hey, find out that something else is going on. He ain't going to stay up in there that long. Matter of fact, he's not going to even go up in there to be tainted. He don't want his garment. The Lord said, keep your garment white. You don't want his garment tainted with this folly, with this foolishness, with this sin. So why is it then that some of these sneaky ones hide this? I'm going to read you why they hide it. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians 5. And we're going to start at the 21 and read just 21 and 22. And this is why they do this. They don't openly come out and let you know that they believe in this. They don't let you know they do it. This is why they don't show you openly that this is what they're about. But when you get to 5, read the 21 and 22.
Prove all things.
Prove all things. Okay, go ahead.
Hold fast that which is good.
We have been reading about monogamy. Ain't that good?
Yes, it is.
Because God established that, and God said everything he created is good. We can read that right in the very first book of the Bible. Everything that he creates is good. But he did not create or establish or sanction. He permitted. He didn't create having to do with no polygamy. But finish reading that.
Abstain from all appearance of evil.
Didn't we read that in one of them definitions we was reading?
Mm-hmm.
That they have to abstain. If you married in a monogamous marriage, you have to abstain from other people. And it's telling you here to abstain from all appearances of evil. This is why they hide it, brothers and sisters, because they have to be sneaky. If you saw them practicing this, you're not going up in no place like this where you're going to share your wife with another man, or she share her husband with another woman. Or you come in and it's 5 of y'all in the house talking about y'all the wives of this. No, you're not going to do this. If you want to have a monogamous marriage, that does not include outsiders, brothers and sisters. That's between one man and one woman because God established that. Let's move on. But this is why they hide it. It appears to others to be evil.
That's right.
That's why they hide it. This is why they don't tell you that they do this in the beginning, at the outset of you approaching this place, and they teach it under the table.
Not only does they hide it because it appears to others, it appears to them too. That's why they hide it, because they don't even tell their wives.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you that has been the case, at least in our experience anyway, and from some things that we know. But in any case, let's move on. This is why they do it. It appears to others to be evil, so they keep it a secret and only share it with people who are stupid enough to follow this nonsense. But anyway, we're going to go now to Hebrews 13, and we're going to pick up something else here. And we're going to pick up this word bond again, or bonds, because it talks about a man binding his soul and so forth. And let's read something in Hebrews 13. We're going to read 3 and 5, 3 to the 5, and then skip to 8. But when you get there, start reading that.
Remember them that are in bonds.
Wait a minute. We're talking about monogamy, right? So it's saying remember them who have entered into a monogamous marriage. You bound yourself, or you in bonds, and to this oath, or obligated, okay, and you have made this vow of abstinence. Go ahead, toward one another. Go ahead.
As bound with them, and them which suffer adversity, as being yourselves also.
Bound with them, meaning you got to understand.
We're all in this together.
We're in this together. You a fellow prisoner. This is the way you got to look at a monogamous marriage. It say let nobody come in between or cut asunder what has been joined together by God. So this is what he's telling you in Romans. Hey, you know, and we know this is talking about the flesh because he said being yourselves also in the body. It's sometimes hard to abstain. So this is a continuous fight. So you don't cause anybody, be it man or woman, to break this covenant they have entered into with the Lord and each other. But go ahead, finish that.
Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled.
Wait a minute. What kind of marriage are we talking about here? It's a monogamous marriage, brothers and sisters. It's honorable. It was established by God. We read earlier it was good. It's a good thing. He said, and the bed, under what bed? The marriage bed of a monogamous marriage is undefiled, brothers and sisters. However, he's going to tell you about another type of bed here. Finish reading that.
But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge.
Wait a minute. Are they beds undefiled? Can't be.
Can't be. They're whoremongers.
They're whoremongers. They're adulterers. Those beds are defiled, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
Let your conversations be without covetousness.
Don't teach a spouse or somebody to covet outside of the union that they have established with God or the covenant they're in. Go ahead.
And be content with such things as ye have.
Be content with your spouse, your one husband or your one wife. Go ahead. This is what this is telling you here. Go ahead.
For he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee.
Who said this?
God, Jesus.
Jesus said this, but somebody else said this early on. Adam said this about his wife, brothers and sisters, in the beginning. For this cause shall a man leave his mother and his father and cleave unto his wife, and they shall be no more twain but one flesh. This is what we're reading here. He said, for I will never leave. Did Adam divorce Eve?
No, he didn't.
Did he ever leave her?
No.
This is a monogamous marriage. But that, now you understand why the disciples said what they said. Man, getting into this monogamous thing ain't, hey, a man might well stay single. But you have to abstain even when you single. You can't be no fornicator or no individual walking around sleeping from bed to bed. You're defiling yourself. So, and also the book tells you it's better to marry than to what?
Than to burn.
Than to burn. So you pretty much left with no course, brothers and sisters, to do the right thing. But we finished that, right? Let's now move on. We're going to pick up something else. We're going to go to 1 Thessalonians 4.
I didn't do 8.
Oh, I'm sorry. Skip down to 8 and let's finish that and see what 8 says, because I might have missed something very significant here. Read that verse 8.
Jesus Christ, the same yesterday and today and forever.
I'm glad I didn't skip that, because the Lord established monogamy in the beginning. But no divorce back then, but keep in mind, in order to have divorce, you must have marriage, and the Lord don't change. He is telling you here that he is the same. Is he for this simply because he allowed it? Because he permitted a man to use his free will? Is it a sinful thing or an unsinful thing? Is it a clean thing or is it an unclean thing? Is it a holy thing or an unholy thing? You're going to have to reason within these words written in this book and figure this out. You should be able to see what it is by now. It wasn't brought forth by God. Simply because he allowed something, brothers and sisters, don't mean you're not going to be punished for it. You better keep that in mind. But anyway, let's move now and read one verse, 1 Thessalonians 4 and 7, and pick up something else here. Because I said that, I said it to read this to you. Which one did the God call? And we're going to read it. Go ahead.
For God has not called us unto uncleanness.
What? Go ahead.
But unto holiness.
Which one is holy, brothers and sisters? Monogamy, as it pertains to being in a monogamous marriage, or polygamy, as it pertains to being a polygamist in a polygamous marriage. Meaning that a man can have 9 or 10 women claiming to be his wives, and a woman can have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 men claiming to be her husband. And then you have another form of polygamy, which is group marriage, when you have 20 people, 20 women and 20 men claiming to all be married to one another. That sounds like an old-fashioned orgy to me. God did not sanction that or bring that forth, brothers and sisters, but this is what you're dealing with when you start talking about polygamy. God has nothing to do with this. He tells you here, for God, Paul is telling us, has not called us unto uncleanness. Which one is unclean? Polygamy or monogamy? You tell me. And it says he has brought us to be holy or unto holiness. Which one is holiness? Monogamy or polygamy? You ask yourself that question. But let's move on. Let's now go back to 1 Corinthians 7, and we're going to read 10 and 11, skip down to 27. We're going to read something else here and pick up something else here, and keep in mind what we're talking about. The subject matter is, which one did the Lord establish? Polygamy or monogamy? So far, the Lord ain't said nothing about no polygamy.
Haven't seen it.
But let's go to verse 10, and we'll read 10 and 11. 1 Corinthians 7, 10 and 11.
And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord.
So this piece telling you this is a command from the Lord. Go ahead.
Let not the wife depart from her husband, but if And if she depart, let her remain unmarried.
Oh, so this depart means let not the wife divorce her husband, and vice versa. Go ahead.
Or be reconciled to her husband.
Vice versa, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
And let not the husband put away his wife.
So that's what we're talking about, a divorce. Don't do this. Because the Lord told you, especially if it's not for the reasons written in this book, the Lord said he's a swift witness against you, those of you who act treacherously toward the wife or husband of your covenant that you made with him. But skip down to 27 and read that one verse.
Art thou bound unto a wife?
Oh, ball and chain again. Are you bound? Are you tied to? Okay. By an oath? Okay.
To a wife.
A wife, not wives. Still talking monogamy here. I mean, about a monogamous marriage here, brothers and sisters. Are you bound to a wife? And it also said, let not a man put away his wife earlier. It didn't say wives, did it?
No.
Go ahead.
Seek not to be loosed.
Don't divorce her. Don't seek no divorce. Go ahead. What were you supposed to do?
Art thou loosed from a wife?
Go ahead.
Seek not a wife.
Seek not a wife if you lose, because the ultimate thing is to be reconciled to one another again before the Lord. This is
just to see reconciled with Israel.
It's all that simple. People don't understand this. This is a serious, monogamy is a serious thing. You said, no, it ain't. Well, how many wives do God have? He still got, even though he's taking care of other people, they're still not his wife.
They still all come under the bound of Israel.
And it can only be his wife if they become spiritual Israel. That's another lesson, though. But understand what I'm saying to you. When we're talking literal things here, a man and we're talking monogamy here. A monogamous marriage is that you have entered into an oath or a covenant with the Lord, brothers and sisters. This is who you are vowing about your spouse to him about. That spouse of yours, be it a woman and a man, a woman about the man to God, the man about the woman to God. This is what you're doing. And when you break your word, you got a problem with God. This is a serious thing. Monogamy is nothing to play with. But on the other hand, believe me, you can do pretty much anything. And it'd be okay, but not with God. You should be able to see that by now, because he didn't establish that. But anyway, let's move on. What we're going to do, we read earlier that Adam, the Lord said it was not good for Adam to be alone, that he was going to bring forth him a helpmeet. Let's define this word helpmeet, because Hebrew Israelites have no idea what this word means. This is why they're so hell-bent on being polygamous. You don't understand the duties or what was ordained for a wife to do. And this was ordained by God. Let's go into the Strongs and look up this word helpmeet. We're going to go to Hebrews 58:28 in the Hebrew section, and the word translated helpmeet. What is the word?
Okay, do you 58:28 first?
Yeah, let's read that one first.
Azer. From 58:26.
Go ahead.
Aid, help.
So Eve was brought forth to be Adam's aid and helper in every way, brothers and sisters. Now let's get back and read that 58:26 definition of helpmeet, because it's in there twice. What's the word?
Azar.
Okay.
A primary root to surround, protect, or aid, help, secure.
So this is what a man's wife is, brothers and sisters, according to the word of God. She is his aid, also his protector. She surrounds him completely and protects him from anything that is going to be a stain until their relationship, and possibly cause their vow to the Lord to be breached.
And when you say protector, surround, it kind of reminds me of a force field, a covering.
Exactly. And then also it say to surround, to help, to aid. That means if he get in any kind of trouble, she is like blowing the trumpet and bringing the troops to help him. It's like the cavalry. She's bringing the cavalry, coming in with the cavalry. But you know what the problem is? You don't listen to your wife. I'm the man, and she's supposed to sit down and this, that, and the other. You're not treating her right, brothers and sisters, when you do it. You will not even allow what God has ordained her to be. You might not like what she says, But if it's the truth, you're supposed to humble yourself, brother, and let this sister be what God has ordained her to be, your helpmate. Let her surround you with aid and help. Along with that comes comfort and all those things. But you don't want her to do her job. You can't just let her do a partial thing. She has to do what she has been ordained to do. She is your helper, your aid. She is your protector. But you don't listen to, baby, don't do that. That's going to get us in trouble. It's going to cost us money if you do that. I'm the man, I'm going to do it anyway. Then you owe the government this, or you owe this, or you ain't got enough money for this, because you wouldn't listen to your helper. Try to put a jack in your slack, being, in your pants, brother, being some, come on, brothers, humble yourself. You're humbling yourself before the Lord. Don't make you minus or less than a man when you understand what this word help me means. Your wife is your aid and your protector, my brother, and you won't even let her do her job. That's sad. But anyway, let's move on. Let's now go to Matthew 16:4, and I've had over a period of time numerous arguments about this subject. This is another reason why I decided to do this class, because I have a brother who's a friend. I call him a dear friend, and he can't see any of this that I've shown you already. And when he sees this, I know it's going to be a wake-up call to him. But nevertheless, his thing is that the Lord never punished a man for
having more than one wife.
Yeah, for having more than one wife, because I told him, brother, if you enter into a monogamous marriage, and that covenant is between you, one man and one woman, and for no reason at all, especially just putting her away for nothing, you go get you somebody else and sleep with them, you have not abstained at all. You have stepped outside of your monogamous covenant. That makes you an adulterer. And this is what Israel did, the nation of Israel did. But he can't see that. So I just want to go ahead and show you that not only were they a wicked and adulterous generation dealing with idols, they physically committed adultery too. This is what made them also wicked. So this is what we're going to run down now. We're going to just read that 4th verse in the 16th chapter of Matthew to begin to establish that they were adulterous, and adulteresses, meaning female adulteresses as well, along with male paramours. But go ahead, we're going to read this one verse here.
A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given unto it but the sign of the prophet Jonas.
Go ahead.
And he said,
and he left them and departed.
And he left them and departed.
Okay, I just want to go here to establish that the Lord said that they were a wicked and adulterous generation. And this is what I want to focus on, this adultery here. Being adulterous in what way? And people, well, it's just talking about idols. No, it's talking about more than idols. And I'm going to show you that right now. I'm not even going to beat around the bush. I'm going to take you right there and show you that Israel not only were adulterous, and I'll show you later on, this pertains to Solomon as well. They were adulterous in terms of idols, the idols that they worshipped and served, but they were also literal adulterers in that they committed adultery on their spouses, thus breaching their covenants with their spouses, and more importantly, their covenant that they made with God as it pertained to their spouses. Okay, we're going to go to the Apocrypha, and we're going to go to the book of Wisdom, Wisdom 14, the 14th chapter. We're going to read the 22nd, start at the 22nd verse to the 26th, and skip down to the 30th verse. When you get there, you can read.
Moreover, this was not enough for them.
What was not enough? For them to commit adultery with idols. Go ahead.
That they erred in the knowledge of God.
And who we talking about? Israel, the nation of Israel. Go ahead.
But whereas they lived in the great war of ignorance.
They're living the same way today, too, in the great war of ignorance. Go ahead.
Those so great plagued called they peace.
Those great plagues called they peace. When you sin against the Lord, brothers and sisters, or break a covenant with him, the Lord sends plagues on you. He troubles you in so many ways you can't imagine. And Israel got so accustomed to being beat over the head and being whipped by the Lord, they started calling this punishment, these plagues,
easier than someone else.
Then just submitting themselves to do right before the Lord. They got accustomed to being whipped and beaten and taken into captivity back and forth, they thought they started calling it peace. There's something wrong with that. There's a lot of people doing that today. Instead of you just doing what thus said the Lord, you would much rather be punished by God, and you got so accustomed to it, you think it's the right thing, and it's really beginning to feel good to you. Somebody's got to be pretty twisted for somebody to hit you upside the head over and over again, and it start feeling good to you. That doesn't make any sense to me. But finish that.
For whilst they slew their children in sacrifices,
these idols they was worshiping and so forth, and go ahead.
Or used secret ceremonies, or made revelings of strange rites.
Strange rites. This is real deep, brother. This is deeper than you think it is, but I ain't gonna get into that. Go ahead.
They kept their lives nor marriages any longer undefiled.
We're still talking about monogamy here. It said they kept their lives
nor marriages
any longer undefiled. We're talking about monogamous marriages here. So they were literal adulterers too, just like I told you. But finish reading that.
But either one slew another traitorously.
That means they were murdering each other. Go ahead.
And grieved him by adultery.
What?
Adultery.
Adultery, brothers and sisters. We're talking about literal adultery here. Against who? We're talking about marriages here. We just read it. Go ahead. So
that there reigned in all men without exception blood, manslaughter, theft, and dissimulation, corruption, unfaithfulness.
Unfaithfulness to who? To spouses. We're talking about in both ways with these idols, meaning that you worship idols and you're supposed to be faithful to God, but when it was a literal thing with a man and his monogamous wife, we're talking about being unfaithful to her. You were supposed to abstain from going outside of that covenant. This is what this is telling you. Go ahead.
Tumults, perjury, disquieting of good men.
Wait a minute, honey. What is perjury?
Lying.
You lied to God about this spouse. You perjured yourself and don't even realize that's what you did. You made a vow to God pertaining to your spouse, and you perjured yourself to him, and you're going to pay for that. Go ahead.
Disquieting of good men, forgetfulness of good terms, defiling of souls, changing of kind.
What? Changing of kind? This is homosexuality here, brothers and sisters. A lot was going on. That's why the Lord called them an evil and an adulterous generation. It meant with idols and also literal adultery against monogamous marriages, brothers and sisters. Go ahead and finish that.
Disorder in marriages.
Just said that. Now we read it. Disorder in marriages. Go ahead.
Adultery and shameless uncleanness.
Didn't we read earlier that Paul said the Lord has not called us unto uncleanness but holiness? What are we reading here?
This is uncleanness.
This is an adulterous generation on both fronts with idols and literally, brothers and sisters. Skip down to verse 30. And it's going to tell us that for both causes this happened. Go ahead.
Howbeit, for both causes shall they...
Don't punish nobody for doing this.
There it is.
What did this just say?
It said, for both causes they shall be justly punished.
If you step outside of a monogamous marriage, brothers and sisters, and claim or profess to be a now reformed polygamist, okay, and you have no cause to legitimately put that sister away, or vice versa, sister, put that brother away, or that husband, or that wife away, you are committing adultery against the Lord, brothers and sisters. You don't even understand this because you're not paying attention. You're letting the lust of your flesh get the best of your thinking. But it's telling you, you're going to what? For both causes, be it with idols or literally, you're going to be justly punished. Go ahead and finish that.
Both because they thought not well of God.
You thought not well of God. Go ahead.
Giving heed unto idols, and also unjustly swore in deceit.
Go ahead.
Despising holiness.
Despising holiness. Holy what? Holy matrimony, brothers and sisters. Not holy polygamy. Holy monogamous matrimony. That's what our Lord and Savior brought forth in his creation, brothers and sisters. Nobody wants to deal with this. Nobody wants to do it. You want to rush your butt back in the book and count the concubines of other men, and you can't even come close to even being nowhere near these men and sacrificing the things that they gave up to do the Lord's work. You ain't nowhere near that yet. You think you're supposed to have what they had. You can do what they did. You're nowhere near these men in thought nor in deeds. But yet you want what they had. It don't work that way. But you can do what you want to do. You can do what you want to do. You're a free agent. But remember, at the end of all of this, there are two roads. There's a straight and narrow, and there's a wide. At the end of both of these roads, I promise you, the Lord's judgment is waiting. Which one you want to be on? You think about that. Brothers and sisters, this concludes part 1 of our class, The Polygamous Lifestyle or Marriage According to Adam's Creation. And what we're going to do is just sum up what we have already revealed to you. We read to you, and you saw for yourselves and read for yourselves, that Jesus did not establish polygamy in the beginning. There was no divorce, nor did he instruct anybody to go back and count the concubines of Moses, David, Solomon, or any man that practiced polygamy. We know that Israel was a nation of polygamists. He didn't tell you to go back and do that. He told all of us, starting with his disciples as well as the Pharisees, and if you profess or claim to be either one, he was talking to you as well and told you to go back and take a look at his creation and what he established marriage to be. A monogamous marriage to be between one man and one woman. We thank you for listening, and stay tuned for part 2 of this same class. God bless you, and we'll see you soon. I'm Brother David, and this is Sister Teresa. You all of you, brothers and sisters, have a blessed day.